where even elections and campaign times are driven around which community can unite with which community. So I would like to bring a fresh start, a new way of leading, a new way of serving people, indeed introduce servant leadership. Now, what is it that I bring to the table that I am convinced my competitors are unwilling to bring to the table or won't bring to the country given a chance to lead? The first thing that a Reuben Kigame presidency brings on the table is that servant leadership based on integrity, patriotism, human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination, and the protection of the marginalized. These are values that are carried in our Constitution in Article 10. And if you look at the Bill of Rights, they are envisaged there too. I would like to bring to the table a real Kenyan nation that is proud to exist as a defender of the fundamental rights of the individual. But secondly, I would like to bring to the table a presidency that manages the wanton corruption and impunity. Like I have said, we've come to a point in our country where we have accepted that corruption can never go away. I would like to give a chance to citizens to see for the first time what it means for a president to lead by example in slaying the dragon of corruption and impunity. When I look at what is going on in our country today, and I look at how we approach justice, and I look how some people live as if they are above the law, I crave and I desire to see a totally different country. Thirdly, a Reuben Kigame presidency wants to fight the whole problem of food insecurity. You know, we lose a lot of food because of distribution problems. It's not as if we don't have enough food in this country. We do, but we lose it because the food that is available doesn't get to the people that need it. Some of it rots, some of it is indeed taken advantage of. You grow your maize or your beans, and then you realize that somebody is importing food from outside. So cartels come in. Dead industries, some of which are killed makusudi, just I want to kill this industry so that I can import. So we need to secure food, in this country and ensure that everybody has access to food. Fourthly, a Reuben Kigame presidency commits to avail universal quality healthcare for every citizen, regardless of who they are, regardless of economic status. I would like to see a place where public health is given priority, where prevention is given priority. I would like to see a place, a situation where every village has at least a health center and or a dispensary that is functional, complete with personnel. I would like to see the hiring of more health workers. We have a lot of them that are unemployed, and I don't get it. I don't understand why. Our doctors need to be paid well, etc. I want to see quality health care in this country. Fifth, I would like to see the management of our public debt. We have become real desperate borrowers, and public debt has gone through the window. We are talking about Kenya owing close to 7.6 trillion shillings. That is not your shopkeeper's change of every day. This is monies that our children and children's children will pay before we go free. And we've been driven this far because of the greed of a few who want to borrow and invest in irrelevant projects, projects that are not priority, projects that would benefit them more than the ordinary citizen. So I would like to see the management of our public debt through what I'm calling stop economic bleeding. Stop economic bleeding. You know, if something cuts you like this, you want as quickly as possible to bring in what they call what? Elastoplast, you know, some bandaging to stop the bleeding. But we seem to be so comfortable with losing 2 billion shillings per day. Our own president confessed that in January. 2 billion shillings per day gives you the idea of losing about 720 billion per year. I would say this is, you know, the least. We are losing all of that. So if we stop economic bleeding and we stop local borrowing, because the government is borrowing locally until Mwananchi has nowhere to borrow from. The commercial banks and so on are servicing the government more than Mwananchi. I would like to see a turnaround on that. I would like to see negotiation on the repayment periods for our debts. And, you know, persuade whatever can be cancelled to be cancelled. And then, as your president, I would like to see a reprioritization of projects. A lot of projects are just, you know, white elephant. They're just projects to guzzle and take money from our national coffers. So I would like to see a reprioritization of that so that we can have enough. And then ensure that the taxes we pay are accounted for. Set up a system of accountability that will take care of every little shilling that comes from our taxes. You see, if you could convince citizens that their taxes are being put to proper use, then you can be sure citizens will be happy to pay tax. But if you are trigger happy to make citizens pay taxes, and then you can't account for them, you are not just a horrible capitalist, you are an evil person, because you use people to enrich yourself as you let them suffer on and on. Something has to be done to turn this around. Now, sixth, I would like as much as possible to ensure that we have a government of national unity. Right from how I do my appointments, you will be so happy to know that right from the appointment of my deputy all the way to the CSs and key positions in government, I am probably the only one that can assure you and demonstrate both now by way of how I work, including my own campaign team, that I am very inclusive. And I would like my government to be just that. And it's not just about having people from different parts of the country. We need to include women in this coming government. Women must have a prominent place on the basis of merit and not just affirmative action. We will appoint them because there are many who are qualified to run the different affairs of this country. Indeed, time is ripe for Kenya to even have a woman president. And so we need to go to the drawing board and recognize that inclusion is not just talk. Inclusion is not just mere talk. I would like to see a government of national unity that is inclusive, including persons living with disability, to find space in administration and decision making and everything that pertains to the running of this country. Lastly, and most significantly, with 70% of our population being youth, it would be a terrible mistake to have any president that does not prioritize the lives and affairs of the youth. Indeed, I want to go public. I want to be on record as saying that right from the composition of my government, I hope The young people will be delighted enough to see that I will mostly have people running this government that are at least 50% youth. 50% younger than me, certainly. I'm 55 now. You can be sure the faces that form the next government will comprise people between 30 and 50. And I can tell you for sure that it's not just about inclusiveness at that level. It is about sitting with the youth to determine policy. It's about giving youth a chance to tell you what works for them. It's not about sitting in Nairobi at a boardroom and deciding this is what we allocate to the youth. We have to have a youth-driven decision-making process as well. And there are three main areas of youth support and intervention that I would like to commit as your next president. First of all, and take it to the bank if you can, I would like to ensure that every young person that is school or college-going age manages to have a free, quality education. I was talking to my shadow minister for economic planning and finance and so on. There will be a few other dockets brought in there. We're keeping this under our sleeves. And he told me that in 10 to 12 days or so of tax collection, we can fund the entire education budget for the whole year. And if that is doable, then we should be able to take away the burden of paying school fees from parents and put it on government. A government should be able to educate its youth. And guess what? If we take away that pressure, that weight from the parents, they will have enough money to invest and even pay taxes. We will free them from the burden of having to sell land and houses and property and going into loans in order to educate their children. I commit to a quality, free education, and mark my words, right from kindergarten all the way to university. I believe that it is possible, not just with government investment, but also with the support of partners that are ready to fund education. Now, I know some of you may be asking about CBC and so on. I will make a statement on that in the coming days. But I believe that CBC needs to be participatory. We need to hear the teachers, we need to hear the parents, and we even need to hear the students. Now, I would also want to secondly concentrate in terms of youth empowerment on ensuring that youth have county centers, incubation centers, county centers to develop talents and other abilities. So whether you're talking soccer, or you're talking music, or you're talking film, or you're talking arts or poetry or whatever it is in terms of youth endowment, we want to make sure that the youth have access to these in every county. I would also want to mention something that is very rarely talked about by other presidential candidates, and from today you might even hear them pick this up and talk about it. But the issue of counseling services for our youth. So many on drugs, so many put down by alcohol, so many that are deceived and completely destroyed by gambling and all these traits that are put on them by adults. We need to have counseling centers and rehab centers in every county that is in partnership between the national government and county governments to ensure that our youth have access to the management of mental health issues as well as life-threatening habits. I believe that if we took off our youth from alcohol and drugs, we will be able to have more productive youth and thereby have a more productive nation. And lastly, I would like to believe that given a chance, We, having removed government from squandering, local borrowed monies, we should be able to avail a lot of seed capital for youth that have left college in particular and would like to start certain small projects, whether it's just a business or you want to go into incubating and strengthening your talent. We want to avail capital and then give you low interests as well as long periods of time to repay that money. In my estimation, if we gave 6 to 7 years, my team will be working on that in terms of repayment. The youth can sort themselves out. And so I would like to believe that given a chance, there is a place I can take this nation and make the average Kenyan citizen smile again. My complete, big vision is to have a breath of fresh air in this country again, where people like street children are no more on the streets. It's actually irresponsible for any society to have a group of citizens called street children or street families. These have homes, and where there are no homes, we should create homes for them. But they also need to enjoy life the same way everybody is enjoying life today. And so, with those many remarks, allow me to sit down and wait for the question and answer time, and I believe that I'll be able to address the in-betweens that I was unable to address. But I would want to end by saying, come August 9, 2022, please give a chance to a fresh, person, someone that is out of government. The only experience I actually don't have is the experience of mismanaging your country. The only experience I don't have is theft. The only experience I don't have is impunity and corruption. So if those are bad experiences to have, then I don't know what you want. I have only one experience in life: to lead by example and not to tell people, do as I tell you and not as I do. I want to be the first president, the first singing president like David, who tells you, follow me as I follow the laws of God. God bless Kenya and God bless Africa.
Wow, that has been amazing. And thank you so much, Honorable Reuben Kigame, for that articulate and candid State of the Nation address that you've given. You've captured almost everything that is affecting young people. You've talked about the economic model that you intend to use to uplift the livelihoods of the young people. And also at the same time, you have come on board as an alternative to the corrupt, and the mismanaging governments that we have had in the past and that we still have right now. And I feel like so many young people are energized, and from the State of the Nation that you've given, it has captured so many issues that is affecting the lives of young people. And before I start going online, you've weighed in on the issue of CBC, and you've given an address that you'll be tackling it entirely, holistically in a few days. But it is one of the emerging issues, is among one of the emerging issues that is affecting so many parents right now. And I would also want you to weigh in on the issue of NHIF, and they have made that they intend to make NHIF. They intend to make the NHIF, a compulsory issue to the families. And I'm like, if these families cannot afford to put a meal on their table, how can they be in a position to cater for the NHIF health policy? So I would really want you to weigh in on that. What is your mind about it?
Thank you very much. In other countries, you have what we call social security. And so we would like to have a new way of looking at the provision of insurance for the nation. Allow me to just say this. Under my leadership, there should be a fee or an amount of money set aside, especially for the poor families. That is what they call out their social security, that you have an amount of money that you can leverage on should you fall sick, should you need basic health care. And so beyond the NHIF issue, I would like to be able to discuss with my team the possibility of ensuring there is an amount under social security.
Awesome. And I mean, that is a real issue, and thank you so much for your response. And there is now the dragon of corruption and impunity, and it's so rampant in our country. I don't know, I mean, the governments have laid bodies and structures that are supposed to take care of it, but still they're just going on circles, and they're not really tackling the real issue. And they're saying that the dragon is too big, that there is no one that can slay it. So what strategy are you going to use that you can slay this dragon of impunity and rampant corruption in our country?
First of all, if you yourself are affected by corruption and impunity, if the way you live is full of scandals, full of people crying about what you've done to them or stolen from them, then I can tell you for free, there is no way you can handle the problem of corruption. And that's why I'm not an angel. I'm not a saint. I'm just a simple Christian Kenyan citizen that believes that beyond government, there is a higher government, and that is the government of God, that we are accountable to. Yes. And when all in this life is said and done, we will face somebody who will ask me and ask you the question, how did you live? How did you treat others? And so I go by a principle that Jesus left me as a Christian, and that is one, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. And it doesn't matter who it is. So that drives my ethics. It drives my value system. And tell you what, the 10 commandments are very clear. The Muslims have them, the Christians have them. And it is so clear, it says, thou shalt not steal. So if you're going to steal, guess what? The place to be is in jail. And so I want to go on record as the first president that from day one, we'll be looking at the need for those who have been convicted or there is enough evidence that they have taken public resources or funds, then we will give them a chance to return. We will give them a chance to restitute. Beyond there, my friend, it is jail all the way. And I hope that I become the first president to show that there is nobody who is below or above the law. The law, it works for everybody, whether you have 1,000,000 shillings or whether you only have 100 shillings as your resource. I hope that I can show by example it can be done. And it will begin with the president's office.
Wow. And I mean, I can see the passion and the vigor, I mean, and the hope that you have towards that. But the judiciary, you know, in Kenya we have the 3 arms of government. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, and the legislature. And the judiciary is kind of compromised. I mean, the judiciary is kind of compromised until the other day we saw a judge was, being part of a corrupt deal and, I mean, assassinating someone. I mean, what are you going to do to straighten that arm of government?
So that particular case is under, they're working on that case, so I will not comment on it.
Okay.
However, I want to be the friend of the judiciary. You know, if you look at the way the current government has treated the judiciary, it's very embarrassing. First of all, by defunding the judiciary. How do you defund the judiciary? By giving them little money, meaning that you cannot really execute certain cases. that is a problem. But also, outright refusal to hire judges. You remember that saga? And so I want all this reversed, whereby we give credit where it's due, and of course, punishment where it is due. I will be the friend of the judiciary, and certainly we have a very competent, Chief Justice. I believe that we can work very well together. But I also want to be a friend of Parliament, not in the sense our current government is. I want to work with Parliament in such a way that legislation is not dragged, that we pass laws that serve Mwananchi. You know what the current Parliament is doing, Michael? It's jumping the gun. It's actually playing games with citizens. Where, for example, on the issue of the raising of fuel levies and so on, the fuel prices, it's not, you hear the parliamentarians crying foul, we should dissolve parliament, so the blame game is on, but they are the ones who passed the laws. So we want a responsible legislature. And I must say that it is not enough for me to vie to be president. We need people of integrity, right from the MCAs to MPs, to women reps and even governors and senators. If you're there and you believe in this kind of government, you should be the one vying. So let's have a change of guard where we offer citizens a government that works.
Reuben, you just proclaimed...
Mr. President.
Okay, Mr. President.
Yes.
You just proclaimed that you are a Christian Kenyan citizen. No. So on that, a question. How you, on the issue of the LGBTQ plus team, access to safe abortions, so they're not exactly illegal in Kenya. Constitutionally, I think they're not illegal. But in the Christian light, they are immoral. I think that's the word. How are you planning to not objectively not impose your Christian views on the Constitution, or how are you planning to balance your Christianity with the Constitution, or your religiosity with the Constitution?
Okay, that's a very good question. And I want to go on record as saying that we go around in circles when it comes to the question of morality. We tend to just, go around with jargonizing and a lot of euphemisms and so on. So that even asking a question like what my view is on LBGTQI++ is really because we have a debate in place that we shouldn't be having in the first place. And I'll say three things about this question. One, that if you're talking about human rights, there are what we call fundamental human rights that are there for everybody. Even the United Nations says there are those inalienable rights. And this, the United Nations did not come up with. It's even in our holy books. You cannot just take somebody's life like that, And so what are these fundamental rights? You're talking about the right to life, the right to food, the right to basic health care, and so on. Now, if you are asking me whether, my attitude to people of particular lifestyles and so on will be affected by my Christian faith, I'll say this. With regard to rights, the fundamental basic human rights, I cannot negotiate that because everybody deserves life, everybody deserves food, everybody deserves health care, and indeed everybody deserves everything I have outlined in my State of the Nation address. So every time I meet someone who is of a particular lifestyle, whether he's an alcoholic, and some people don't like alcoholics, or they don't stomach them, whether it is someone who has failed an exam, whether it's somebody who is of a particular community, or if somebody believes something. There are people who even believe there is no God. They're atheists or agnostics. Now, that is where this LGBTQI plus falls. And the question is, as a president, I am a president for everybody, regardless of their orientation. I need that to be clear. And so as a president, the first thing I ask is, are you part of the citizenship of Kenya? Are you a citizen of Kenya? And I must stretch this even to visitors and foreigners. Are you in Kenya? If you're a citizen of Kenya, or you are in Kenya, then you deserve to be alive, first of all. So anybody touching you because of your belief will go to jail. Anybody who kills you because you are LGBTQI or an atheist or a Muslim or a Christian, that person is violating the right to life, and it's constitutional. Wow. The other thing is, have you eaten? I want to know. Do you have food? There's no way I can deny you food because you're an atheist. I mean, that is naive. There's no way I can deny you health care because you're a Muslim, or a Christian, or a Hindu. So that is not in my purview to legislate morality on constitutional questions. And so with regard to that, yes. Now, secondly, I would like to honestly and sincerely ask, if we defend your right to life, and we don't want anybody to touch you, to kill you, because of your orientation, because of your belief or whatever, then why is it is so normal for some people to take away the lives of the unborn? We are defending your life, and you take away somebody else's life. Life is life, and our Constitution in Article 26 in the Bill of Rights says that life, everybody has a right to life from conception to natural death. Now, we complicate things when it comes to issues of abortion and so on. Are you aware, by the way, that when you have a miscarriage, for example, that is an abortion? It's spontaneous. It happens. There's a loss of life, but it's not induced. What I am against personally is a doctor or a nurse or someone else, interfering or destroying or taking the life of the unborn. And on the basis that it's my body, it's my right. There are no rights to take away life. And so we must be very clear. We will defend the life of everybody, but we will defend that life from conception to natural death. It's constitutional, it's biblical. Even the Quran would not allow you to take somebody else's life. And that, as your president, I will protect your life, including the lives that are growing in the mother's womb. I am their president too.
Wow, that is awesome. And I'm just checking on our social media. I'm on YouTube, and wow, the messages are streaming in. They are coming in numbers, and so people are so excited about you. I can't read all of these messages. I'll just highlight a few of them, but so many people are excited. Like this one is Joshua Kelly. You are the best president we look forward to have. Let's go, Papa. Very well articulated man of God. Wow, you are a God sent to save our country. My goodness. The youth need back RK. He means well for us. Wow. So many comments, so many messages, but there is this one that I would really want you to respond to. He's asking, how are you going to tackle the issue of our transport system, and then the issue of corruption both in national and county governments? How are you going to tackle that?
Those are good questions. That's a good question. So, yes. Transportation, that is one of the needs that we have as citizens of Kenya, moving, people as well as goods from one place to another. And it's a big, big sector that employs a lot of people. Now, my first stop is going to be decongesting Nairobi. Now, there are experts that are from this country that are developing traffic systems for other countries, and we are just not giving them a chance. There is a professor, I think he's called Washington, from Kisumu, that developed the London traffic system, and it works. And I'm told one time he was asked why it is he's not able to help Kenya. And he just said this: they have not asked me. We go around in circles. Kenyans are some of the most blessed with regard to human resource. We need to bring in some of our diaspora citizens out there to fix some of the problems we are facing in this country. It's just that we don't give them a chance. Secondly, I believe that we should get to a point where we decongest the city, not just by building roads, because every year we are growing and cars will be bought, but we need to develop what we call satellite settlement centers. For example, we need to invest more in places like Ruiru and Juja and Thika, even Murang'a. Invest in Kitengela, invest in Kijabe, so that we decongest the habitation aspect. But to do that, we need to have not just roads, but we can have light railway and very, very easy to move systems of transportation. I visited Germany one time, and you had this hanging train. I think it's in the town of Wuppertal. It's possible for our engineers as well as development partners to help us do the same thing with the railway that we are doing with roads. But this is something that I hope you never forget. One of the ways to actually depopulate Nairobi is to make sure that the counties work and provide opportunities for occupations, for jobs and so on. I would like to persuade especially those in the so-called slums, Kibera, Kawangware, Mathare, Mukuru, and to see if we can move some of those that live there to work in counties, in the different counties. And we're going to also open up the more marginalized areas like Turkana, Marsabit, and northern Kenya, Isiolo. I would like to be able to open that side through agriculture, through irrigation, and so on. So there'll be a lot of jobs. In fact, I chuckle and say, I don't know why Mount Kenya people are so, restless. They're being tossed about the only thing we need to do is open up this country in such a way that nobody sends you from a place every 5 years, that you have to pack every 5 years. So we need to make people work anywhere and everywhere and secure their belongings. Nobody should touch somebody else's belonging. But once we open up the country, these transportation systems will work out because they'll transport human cargo, so to speak. But I also want to believe that we need to have a discussion with Matatu Owners Association so that we move from small vehicles, the 7-seaters and 14-seaters and so on. I think we should encourage them and even help with funding the associations to invest in bigger vehicles, 25-seaters, 30-seaters, if possible, bigger buses, so that you decongest by taking more people. And that way, I think you will also be helping citizens. In fact, one way I would like to decongest the country transport-wise and increase security would be to discuss with the border societies and groups so that they come into circles that will help them instead of having borders that, hiyo mwili ndio pia body and so on, all those conditions. Why not sponsor them to buy, buses. Get into circles, they buy buses, we help them, fund them, so that the motorbikes are actually left for emergencies and, deliveries and so on, but not so much human cargo. And sports. You could say so. But I would like to see border people not stay as border people. They need to grow into being able to provide community transportation that is alternative. Maybe in the villages we could allow the 14-seaters and so on, run by those guys who owned borders. But we need to reduce the number of motorbikes on our roads, not because it's bad, but by empowering them to invest in larger vehicles.
Awesome.
A very good question here. Are you planning to enter into coalitions with another party? And if so, how do you intend to do development? And also, mbona umeenda straight to presidential? President, why didn't you go for MP or senator or governor?
Good question.
Why?
Yeah, so yes, I will be unveiling the party issues in just a bit. I've been very glad to be sponsored and encouraged by the Federal Party of Kenya, but I'm also being, challenged by other parties to run on them. So we will negotiate and see which one is more ready for me. But why run for presidency now? One, because I have national solutions, not just county solutions. And secondly, I have run for governor before, and it was pretty tribal. I think it is very possible for me to provide a more national, outlook on leadership. And I think having traveled this country, having lived almost, so many places, and being perhaps the most integrated person, I can bring solutions that other people cannot in terms of national unity. But I also want to challenge you with one question. Which position did Kenyatta, our first president, run for first? MCA? MP? Governor? Senator? So sometimes we think that we must fit in a particular way of doing things. No, I believe Kenya is ready for a Reuben Kigame presidency.
Awesome. Wow. I mean, our time is far much spent, but we still have so many questions are coming, and I mean, the conversation is going out there. I would want you to tackle this question. Towards the 2022 general election, there has been an issue on the insecurity in some parts of the country, for example, like Laikipia, and it's being said that they are politically instigated. And so what do you think about that? What's your take?
Yeah, so first of all, we need to reform the police department as a whole. We need to retrain some policemen, and I believe we need to replace some of the departments with maybe more committed leadership. But the end result is we need to make the policemen understand and operate as friends of citizens. The kind of runaway, wanton killings by the police is not permissible. I will not tolerate it under my government, and it is time for the policemen to know that ni utumishi kwa wote. It's not about, looking for mistakes, looking for bribes, and I hope that we can pay the police better so that we minimize the issue of corruption. You remember in 2002, when President Kibaki came to office, even citizens were so tired of corruption, they were helping to even report and film, We want to get to that point, but I want to lead by example by reforming the police force as a whole so that it's a service-oriented and mwananchi-friendly force. With regard to insecurity in the north, there are two aspects. One is that every government has neglected certain areas of this country, and it is to our detriment. We must turn around development to focus on people who have never seen development. You see, if you open up an area for example, with roads and so on, it will be more accessible. So if you have a security situation, troops can rush there, good roads and so on. We need to equip our forces with aircraft and so on that can quickly rush to a scene and take. There's no point to have politicians having, 5 or 7 helicopters. And we cannot have helicopters for policemen to rush to a crime scene. It's immoral. So we need to ensure that those resources are not in the hands of individuals, but in the hands of service providers. We need to equip even private, encourage private investment in healthcare and intervention and surveillance and so on. But I also want to ask a question. Why are our boys and girls, our men and women, still in Somalia? We need to bring our forces back home so that they can provide, help locally, defense locally, and then develop good neighborliness. If Somalia is at peace, we will be at peace. If Tanzania and Uganda are at peace, we will be at peace as Kenyan. So we need to not only deal with local security, but we also need to deal with security with our neighbors. We must live at peace with them. We must not be the ones instigating problems in neighboring nations. We really must stop that. And so my foreign policy, I will be outlining, but it includes prioritizing the revival of the East African community, yes. And we need Somalia in the East African community. Yes. We need Djibouti, we need Ethiopia, we need all these countries so that this regional placement can give back to every so-called nation in the region. Wow. And there are, of course, issues to do with conservancy up there, people who own ranches that will prevent, for example, communities living in that area from grazing their herds. I mean, where do they graze them? So we need to understand community issues as well. And the best way to solve community conflicts like these ones is to have community-based solutions. The Wazees know what the problem is. They will tell us, we will fix that. Wow. And one way is to go back. You know what Rwanda did? They have supplemented certain court processes with traditional ways of solving problems. They have the gachacha court systems where they evoke the traditional way of settling disputes. I think we should go to some of that, including the Nyumba Kumi, as well as the gachacha type of settlement.
By the way, you can go.
Let me nini kwa patia resources. You said something about resources, of keeping our resources communal. We have oil in Turkana. We recently, I must say recently, a few years ago, we discovered oil in Turkana. So the company that is mining the oil, it's crude. Ikienda nje irudi tunabuy at a very high price, and we have the resource here. Yeah. And we have people who have gone to school studying. Okay, whichever. Petroleum. Yes, mining. Petroleum mining, engineering. You get. So what is your view on that?
Okay, so we need a balanced view on this one, not an emotional solution. First of all, we need to understand that the crude oil that is being mined there, according to experts, is not quality oil. So we can be saying, yeah, there are so many lorries coming from Turkana with our oil. But the issue is it consumable? And that's the same thing I was being told about the refinery, reviving the Changamwe refinery and so on. You can't just, you have to do environmental assessment, you have to do the cost benefits and all of that. So, yes, so from Turkana, there is not much we are getting actually. And we are treating this as an emotive question. And then, if a company invests in oil mining, for example, you expect that that company has incurred costs. So it's not as if Kenya is the one doing this. They've brought in these companies, and they need to recoup their running costs, their operational costs, and so on. So we need a balanced approach to this. In fact, the whole question of energy, in my opinion, should not even be leaning so much towards petroleum and so on. I think we need to harness solar and wind power and all these alternative energies. In any case, they are cleaner. Maybe. No, well, every time you mention nuclear, people think about war. But you need to get to nuclear only if you haven't harnessed. Do you know that everywhere in this country, there is sunshine? So we need to really invest in solar everywhere and wind. And then with regard to rain, for example, water resources and so on, I wish we had time to talk about this. We are losing a lot of water, a lot of rainwater. We can clean our rivers. We can, ensure that the sewer systems and so on are taken care of. Do you know, for example, Kitengela doesn't have a good sewer system? So the issue of balance, we need to tap what we already have, but also then expand infrastructure in such a way that it serves us.
Wow, there are lots of questions, and I feel like we'll have another session with Honorable Reuben Kigame. I mean, I want to, before I close in, there are some questions that are in the House, and I would really want him to address those questions from us here. And but before that, on top of that, I also want him to address the issue of public participation. You've talked about public participation, and normally in the country right now, they're using public participation as a conveyor belt that they pass, policies that are not right, and then they come and just do it as a formality. And so you'll have to respond to that. So I want to ask a question here, and then we'll respond. Okay, let's do this.
Okay, so public participation, I assume you mean in my presidential race?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let me tell you that in order to run a clean campaign, corruption, by the way, begins at the campaign stage, where you buy people and then expect to pay back yourself, or you enter deals where people give you money, and then you promise them appointments in government and so on. That's how we get bad leadership.
Sure.
So I'm committed to running a clean campaign. I don't have billions to spend. I don't have millions to spend. But I do have support from my friends. You can't believe this, that ever since I declared in April, it's my friends that have been funding my transport, my accommodation, my food as I travel, and that of my team, and some of the resources. And so it's going well, but I could do with more.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've set up a pay bill number, the business number that, that's the way they did it for Obama. You could do that for me as well. Obama's campaign was about the $1, $5, $1, $2, like that. In the same way, without shame, I say I don't have the millions and billions my competitors have. So I need your support. To make it to August 9, it's a whole 10 months. And I need to travel around the country. So just like people support all the other candidates, although with most of it with illicit money, you can support me with clean money to help me, print my T-shirts. In fact, you could, as Michael, offer to print 100 T-shirts for me. I don't see why, as youth, you can't do that for me.
We are going to do
the
this.
Cups and some of these reflector jackets and so on, and the flyers. I'm sure there are people who can do that without feeling any pain.
Okay.
And so take the pay bill number, which is 80414115. Very simple. 80414115. And so what you go is you go to the pay bill, to M-Pesa, pay bill, you see business number, that's where you enter 80414115. Now, once you do that, you'll be asked for account number. Just enter the number 2022, and it will respond back to you once you send, your PIN or whatever. Once you have sent, it will send you back a message confirming that it has been sent to support the Reuben Kigame Presidency 2022. So 80414115, and the account number 2022. I believe that teachers, pastors, my musician friends, youth,
Yes.
with 50 bob, 100 bob, 1,000, whatever.
Yes.
Let's put this together and get the resources we need to run for 10 months.
Yes.
Everybody is being supported. So sometimes I wonder why people look at me like, why is he asking us for money? And everyone, in fact, for those, they're getting billions.
Yes.
I'm just asking you to participate so that you also own. You own me as your candidate. Yes. And you can say, instead of him giving to us or buying us, as it's usually referred to,
Yes.
we are part of it. We put him in.
Yes.
He better serve us.
Awesome. So I want to take one question from Kamistari, and then we'll come to.
But they can go ahead and send. I want to see some response here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Online,
yes.
wherever you are, continue sending them.
And
Let
those
the
outside the
conversation
country
go
can
ahead.
actually
Yes.
use our office line if they need to do World Remit or Wave.
Yes.
You can send to +254 720
720
22
22.
9999.
That is
Very easy
9
number.
4 times.
+254 720 22 9999.
Awesome.
You do that. Let's get this thing done. This
Yeah.
is a people-driven and people-benefiting campaign.
Awesome.
I have my question, but a question has been sent.
Yes.
So I'll read the question that has been sent. It says the three of you, the DP, Kalonzo, and yourself are Christians, born-again Christians. How comes you cannot work together? That is the first question the person has sent.
Good one.
The second question is, do you advocate for a presidential debate?
Good question. So I'll answer the first one by saying, as for who is a Christian, born again or otherwise, that is not for me to determine. That is God in heaven who knows the heart of everyone. All I can say, and by the way, sometimes we rule out the other presidential aspirants and imagine that they are not Christians. I think when we get to heaven, some of us will be very surprised. Some of those that are being ignored as non-Christian or not churchy and so on are simply having a private devotion or quiet devotion that, so it's not up to us. And I think it's unfair for us to label William Ruto or myself or Kalonzo as born-again Christian. And so that is up to God to decide. However, when it comes to serving a country, yes, somebody's faith is important, but faith is really about what you believe and how you live.
Yes.
Faith without works is dead. And so it's up to you to measure each of us, regardless of what label we wear, and then decide, is this the person we want to serve us or not?
Yes.
I think if you just say Christian, Christian, Muslim, Muslim, Hindu, Hindu, that cannot deliver leadership. There are many Christians that are not leaders. There are many Muslims that are not leaders. We need to ask, can we get a different leader this time with a demonstrated record of integrity? That is all we look out for. I may not be the best, but I believe I owe no citizen of Kenya anything I have stolen. I have not come to anybody's house to swindle them out of anything. In fact, even in the church, I have been very critical of preachers that use prosperity in order to swindle Christians out of their money. That is also wrong. And if I've been speaking even within a church context where people don't speak ordinarily, you can be sure when I attack the issue of corruption and impunity, I'll be going at it with full throttle.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
And on that second question, what was that again?
It's about, do you support a presidential
Oh yeah, do I support a presidential debate? I am looking forward to it. Please bring it on. Let's have like 3 or 4 debates. I'll be more than delighted to participate.
Awesome. Last one.
Now to my question. That was a question that was sent. Now, you've been an artist. You've suffered, there was a time you had a YouTube account. People earn from your work, and you didn't get a cent. Every year, all the presidential candidates have been campaigning, but we've never had a chance of somebody who has a solid policy towards the protection of intellectual rights for artists. Our resources and our earnings, they are not safeguarded. So what do you plan to do?
That's a good question.
The defending the protection of intellectual rights and making sure that those who create the creative process, people can earn from it.
Okay, great. So I will answer it very quickly because our time is gone.
Very much.
I will say it's only the wearer who knows where the shoe pinches. I have been a victim myself, so you can be sure that I not only understand what creators and artists go through, but that I would have the will to be able to reverse those conditions. And I will do that by example, leading from the front. Now, one of the things that needs to be done is for the government to avail more information and education on intellectual property rights. A lot of creators don't know what their rights are. But secondly, we need to consolidate the different CMOs and so there are so many groups in between and agencies and companies that are set up to profit from the filmmakers and the music makers and so on. We need to consolidate and streamline this in such a way that we eliminate cartels. Once we do that, the earnings of the artists will go up. I actually find it immoral, for example, for the artist or the creator to get maybe 15% of earnings, and the 85% goes to the CMOs as well as the givers of the services. I will just ask you a question. For example, almost every creator has a Safaricom number. Safaricom runs M-Pesa. So why is it we need so many intervening, positions between what Safaricom is getting for the artist and the artists themselves? Why not incorporate these particular, a group of people as working for Safaricom so that we eliminate some of the in-between costs? But most of all, this is something that is not unique to music. People in the coffee sector are complaining. People in the tea sector, people in the sugar sector, people, even in the maize sector. Too many cartels. We need to make citizens earn from their hard sweat. It is time for us to do that because we can actually have something for everybody. You don't have to go in between and take somebody's money in order to earn. You can earn your own. Yes.
Wow. And so it's been awesome, and I tell you that it's blazing out here. I can check on the comments. I mean, they're still coming in, but we have to come to a close on this one because of time, and I pray that next time we are going to have you soon.
Yes, God willing, towards the end of the month, we will have another one.
It will be great. And I would want you to continue sending the messages. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter. Let's make sure that we tag him. And on YouTube and every other space that we have, let's make sure that we capitalize on that. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. I would want you to give your parting shot, and then we'll come to a close.
Thank you. If I had one thing to say to the people of Kenya, it would be this. We need to rebuild this country in such a way that it works for everybody. Everybody. I would like to attend to certain things that the average candidate will not attend to. And one of those is the restoration of hope in the lives of Kenyans. A lot of Kenyans are living without hope. Hawana tumaini. Inabidi tuwape tumaini la kuweza kuamka asubuhi, hata wakienda kazini wajue kwamba yes, nitafanya kazi lakini jioni nitapata kitu. Inabidi tuwape tumaini kwamba kuna serikali ambayo inajali. whereby we don't exploit people. The people need to know that this is a government that thinks of me, plans for me, and is interested in my welfare. We should invest in people, not take from people. Yeah. So, and then we need a country that is united, where you don't feel as if to be really Kenyan, you have to tell me your second name. No. We need a country that is united and visibly able to take care of the problem of negative ethnicity. And then let's imagine that there are weak people among us. Those must be defended. So I hope that I can represent the voice of hope, a fresh start to how leadership is done. I may not be perfect. I'm not an angel. In fact, some of you that see me as a blind person, I'll tell you this. In my 55 years, I think I have seen more than most of you. I've seen the bad side of life. I've seen what it means to struggle. I've seen what it means to fight for every opportunity. I'm telling you, even running for president, I'm having to convince people that I can run. You see, they think I can't. I fight for everything, including my own life. So I hope that I can also bring hope, especially to the youth, that you don't have to have so much money in order to be a leader, that you don't have to have everything going for you to make a difference. I hope I can inspire a college graduate or someone, even if you've never been to much schooling, that you can also play your part in this country and that Kenya belongs to you.
Wow. So as we finish, we come to a close. I want to remind you the pay bill number. He has asked for a call to support, and I feel like it is the right thing to do, and I'm going to read it for you. You go to pay bill. You go to the M-Pesa app, and then you go to pay bill, and then you type the number 8041415, and then on the account number you will put 2022. So back to you, Marisha.
Thank you so much for joining us. It has been amazing. Reuben, asante sana.
No, it's okay. You know, I teach a lot of young people by example. So, the most exciting thing is that this particular event is actually being moderated by young people. I feel good. I feel so honored to be hosted by you.
I'm very excited. I finally get to meet you. And I thank you so much for inspiring hope that we can have good governance and there is a future for Kenya. There is a future and it is possible to build our country all over again. Asanteni sana. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we worship you. We praise your name. Thank you so much for giving us the grace and the energy to be here today. Thank you for the resources that you have provided for us and will continue providing for us because we want to glorify your name. As we live, be with us, guide us, and protect us. And I'm putting Reuben in your hands, God. May you be with him. In Christ's name I pray and believe.
Amen.
Asanteni sana. I've been your host, Marisha Haron.
Thank you.